and today I'm going to be talking about making a great impression in professional settings, whether it be a job interview, a internship interview. The first step is going to be identifying your report topics. So report is the foundation to building any sort of professional relationship. You want to make sure that you prepare specific report topics to discuss before you meet with somebody and have an interview. And then a few points you could talk about would be either about the company or about the person that you are meeting with. A few examples of these report topics would be, if it's person specific, could be certain schools that they went to, different hobbies that they're interested in, recent articles that they have shared. These are things that you'd be able to find on LinkedIn. And then if you wanted to discuss or review points about a company, you could talk about different achievements that they have recently accomplished. These are things that you would find on their company website. And then you would use report matrices to help you integrate these points that you decide to talk about into your conversation. So what are report matrices? They are documents that are made to help you with specific topics and examples and how exactly you can find these report topics. And then there are three types. There's company specific, person specific, and job specific report matrices. It's really important that you are intentional with the statements and the questions that you decide to talk about with your interviewer in order to build rapport. And it's always important to remember that practice makes perfect. And I can change the screen. The next step to making a great impression is going to be deconstructing the job description. So if you kind of think about job descriptions as a wish list to what exactly an employer is looking for in a candidate, that'll help you understand the bigger picture of what exactly that they're looking for. And then that way you can think about, okay, what specific examples do I have that show that I can perform the job? It's important that you focus on skill sets and experiences that you already have direct experience in. And then another tool I guess you could use would be to look at other people that are in the role that you are hoping to obtain, and then look at what skill sets, what accomplishments, what experience that they have. And then this is something that LinkedIn is a great way to do research through. The next step to making a great impression is going to be identifying your experience topics that you would like to discuss. So decide what requirements you think are the most important for the job that you're hoping to get. Determine what experience that you have that best show the interviewer or the person you are speaking to that you're the best candidate for the position. And then the tool for this would be to fill out the job and responsibilities matrix. Then this will help you prepare for specific STAR method responses, which we will get into in a few slides. And then again, kind of seeing what other people have in similar roles, relating that to your experience. So here we are. The next step is going to be building a STAR method response. Now, what does STAR stand for? It's going to stand for situation, task, action, and result. So after you fill out the job responsibilities and requirements matrix, you're going to come up with specific strategic and structured talking points to bring up in your interview. So situation, you're going to describe the context or challenge of the situation. The task is going to be explaining the goal or problem that you dealt with. Action is what specific steps that you took in order to achieve your result, which is measurable outcomes and achievements with that specific situation that you would like to discuss. And so it's also, again, very important that you practice these draft responses. If you need help with practicing, you can look up online or use artificial intelligence to help give you more examples. And it's important that you're not trying to memorize these STAR method responses, but you use keywords to kind of help you remember as much of the information as you can. The next step is going to be identifying difficult interview responses. So everyone has questions that they might struggle with. To be a strong interview candidate, it's important that you prepare and think about questions that you find the most challenging. So what questions really require critical thinking, require me to take a second, pause, and really think about an answer. You'll want to practice with these questions and come up with responses. You want to make sure that you're using real and relevant experiences to show your skill sets. And then remember that confidence will always set you apart, not perfection. The next step is going to be finding good examples of interview responses. So, again, like we just discussed, choosing hard questions and then preparing with responses ahead of time is very important. You want to use these as a guide, like I had said. You don't want to match perfectly to your situation, but it's better to use these examples and craft them into your own than rather than starting at square one, which we'll discuss in a second. And then always remember that longer responses with relevant examples are better and stronger. Next, you're going to want to edit these examples that you defined, and you want them to match your style. So you want them to be relevant to you. You want them to sound like your style of speaking. You want them to be natural. There's three different ways that you can edit these examples. So version 1 is going to be backing up the original answers. Version 2 is going through them and kind of marking off or making notes of things that don't fit your experience or don't necessarily sound like you. And version 3 is going to be rewriting the sections that you had just marked off so that they sound realistic and natural and sound like how you would actually say it. Next, the step is going to be managing the interview. So, how, after conducting all of this research, prepping with everything that you just did, how are you going to integrate these STAR method responses into an actual interview? So, there's three different places to insert these. Please ignore the ones at the left. The first one is going to be at the beginning. So, planting a seed with a statement about how excited you are to share about what your experience you have that makes you great for the role. The second one would be during the interview, adding in your STAR method responses where they fit and are natural. An example of this would be, let's say, your interviewer brings up a digital marketing editing software. You could say, okay, I have in your mind, you could say, I have a wonderful, strong STAR method response prepared for the editing software. And then you could say, well, I actually have experience in X, Y, and Z. And then at the very end of the interview, you could also have an opportunity to integrate it by if the interviewer asks, is there anything we haven't discussed that you would maybe like to talk about? You could insert your response then, or if this moment doesn't happen and this question never gets brought up, you can create the moment yourself by saying, before we wrap up this interview, I would like to discuss X, Y, and Z.